All right, there we go. All right. Restart the stream. Excuse me. There we go. I restarted the stream, so hopefully everybody can see it now. Okay. All right. Okay. Great. All right. So in this particular section here, we're going to go ahead and talk about truth tables. Okay. So that's the next thing essentially on the agenda is going to be truth tables. So exactly for truth tables here, we're going to look at all four operators. Uh, all right, there we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about truth tables here in this next section. And we're going to see how far we can get here with the truth tables, all right? I'm going to take my time through this section here because this is basically, like I said, the meat and potatoes of this particular chapter. Okay, is basically putting together truth tables in some form or fashion. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and define the truth table here for each individual type of statement. All right, so let's start off with or and not. So we'll start off with the three easy ones here first and foremost. So I'm going to have a column here for each. If you have like a piece of paper, like a lined piece of paper, this will just be just as beneficial. So we'll have say P here. Actually, meant to center everything in the table. So let's do that. There we go. Okay. We have a Q here. And for this one here, we're going to put our symbolic statement here. So let's put P or Q. So P or Q here, just like so. Okay, so there we have our little table here. So again, underneath the P or Q case, all right, we're going to have four possibilities. Okay, so four possibilities here talking about, say, true or false. Okay, so basically, you have as many cases. So I will put a note here after this, and let me go ahead and put that now. Not a next line, please. So I'm going to undo that. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to put a big note here for this. Note, you have 2 to the number of letters. You have 2 to the number of letters of cases for each truth table. So if you have 2 letters, okay, 2 letters means you have 4 cases. 3 letters means you have 8 cases, since that's 2 to the third. If you have, say, 1 letter, you have 2 cases. Okay, you get the general idea. All right, so how does this particular pattern is going to go? Well, all you have to do is you're going to put, to start with, 2 trues and 2 falses for a 4 case, and alternating true and false for the other. So now you've actually have all 4 cases, right? Okay. let's say let's go ahead and talk about the logic here behind each one of these guys. Now, let's assume that, let's say P is I vacuumed the room, and Q is I did the dishes. Okay, pretty simple, straightforward stuff. All right, so again, P the room, I vacuumed the room, and Q I did the dishes. Now, let's say I get a reward for doing either one of these. Okay, or. Okay, so if I do or, it could be either one of them or both. Okay, so if I did the dishes, or if I did the vacuuming and I did the dishes, do I get the reward? Is that true or false? I get the reward. If I did do the dishes and I did do, or I did do the, I happen to do both, do I get the reward, yes or no? Yeah, so I did the dishes, and I also did the vacuuming, so I did both tasks, so I should get the reward because I happened to do both, even though I was only required to do one of them. So the answer here is true. So true or true is true. Let's take a look here at the next one. How about true or false? Yeah, true or false is also true. That's correct. I did the vacuuming. I didn't do the dishes, but as long as I did one of them, I still get the reward. Great. That's all we're after. Let's look at the next one. False or true. So I didn't do the vacuuming, but I did do the dishes. That's correct. That is true. And then finally, the last one here, false or false. So I didn't do the vacuuming and I did not do the dishes. That is false. That is correct. Okay, so I didn't do either tasks, so I do not get the reward at the end of the day. Okay, good. All right, so that's the first truth table. Let's look at the next one. Okay, this time we're going to change up what we have here. This time we'll change up and. So we're going to change it to and here. Let's also change that statement there. Okay. So and is going to work fairly similarly to or. The only difference is that in order for me to get the reward, I need to do both tasks. So let's look at each one here. So I have true and true. Okay, I did do the vacuuming and I also did the dishes. Do I get my reward, true or false? That's true. Since I did both tasks, I'm allowed to get my reward. Perfect. How about the next one there? True, true and false. Correct. That is false, right? That's false because, again, I didn't do one of my tasks, all right? I didn't wash the dishes, for example, so I don't get my reward. I was supposed to do both. How about false and true? False and true is true, so I didn't do the vacuuming, but I did do the dishes. Do I get my reward? I'm supposed to do both of them. Yeah, for that reason, again, I'm not. I didn't do one of those tasks, so therefore, because I didn't do one of those tasks, then I can't get the reward. I have to do both tasks or nothing. So basically, in an and statement, it has to be both of them have to be true in order for the statement to be true. So if I did neither task here, false and false, that still is false at the end of the day. Any questions about that so far? Okay. All right, let's look at the next table here. This time, we're going to do if then. All right. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at if then. All right, so if then works really differently than that of the last two. The last two are pretty straightforward. If then works very, very differently than that. Okay, so we have to change our mindset here just a little bit. Okay, um, let me get a yes or I'll ask a simple yes or no question for all of you here. Do you remember when you guys did those old science reports in like high school or something? Those all those science reports that you did. You kind of had the introduction and your hypothesis and the body and all that stuff. You guys remember doing that? Barely. Nope. You don't remember doing the your old chemistry reports or anything like that? Any experiment reports that you did? No. Okay. Fair enough. That's fine. Well, here's what we're going to do then. Let's at least change it up just a little bit. Let's say we're trying to make a connection with something. We say, let's say we're thinking things through. We say, if this happens, then that happens. Okay, so if this is going to happen, then subsequently, after that, that's going to happen. So let's say you have kind of like an expectation. Okay, an expectation. So let's go ahead and at least view it from the same lens here, where we have an expectation. All right, and see if our expectations will be met based on our assumption. Okay, so if whatever happens, then I expect for this to happen. All right, we're going to go off of that, our own expectation here. So let's go with P here. Let's say the assumption here that we make says if this happens, that happens to be true, then my expectation, also turns out to be true. Well, then if I put that together in a statement, is that going to be true or false? Was my expectation true or was my expectation false? lagged? I don't see any lag on my screen. So again, make the assumption. So for if, you make the assumption, okay? So the if is going to be the assumption, the then is the expectation from that assumption. So if you say this happens, then you expect this to happen. Let's say, for example, here in the first part, that that expectation came true. So your assumption was true, the expectation came true. So what would you say if you put that sentence together? Would it be true or would it be false? Yeah, that would be true. That's right. All right, so you're saying to yourself, you're like, yeah, all right, I expected this to happen. It happened. Great. It's true. Wonderful. Let's look at the next scenario. All right, you made this assumption. You have you say, I have this assumption. I expect this to be true, but the expectation turned out to be false. Okay, so what you thought would happen didn't happen. So if you put that together in a sentence, would that be true or false? That's correct. It is false, right? You thought that something was going to happen. So if if you thought something was going to happen, but in actuality, the end result didn't happen, well, then the statement is false. Because you said before, well, I thought if I did this, then this will happen. But when you tried it out, oh, it didn't happen. So the statement is false. Okay. Now these are a little bit more unusual. Okay. Let's say your assumption is false, but your expectation is true. What would happen in that case? Your expectation is false, or not expectation, your assumption is false. The expectation's true. Yeah, let's think about this for a second here, okay? So let's go with the scenario here. So let's go with a false assumption. So false assumption would be like if I expect to deposit $50 today, then I will have 75 extra dollars in my account or something like that. So obviously that makes no sense, but in a sense, when you talk about assumptions here, in logic anyway, lying to yourself is okay. So that's true. All right. Lying is good when the assumption is a lie. So, the question is that why does it turn out to be true? It's like, who cares about the result? The result doesn't matter. You already lied to yourself, so anything goes after that. As long as you believe it's true, fine, it's true then. Great, because the assumption was a lie. All right, how about the last one there? If false, then false. So if false, then false. So if false, then true is true. If false, then false is true. Correct. That is definitely true. Again, for the same reasoning. You lied to yourself, so who cares about the conclusion? It's true in your mind. That's all that matters. Yeah! Nice. That's exactly what we want at the end of the day. Yeah. So when the assumptions lie, lying is good. We love things that with lying is good. All right. So all right. We'll move forward here. Very good. All right. We'll do the next one here. Alrighty. Okay. So the next one here is going to be our second to last operator. All right. So we're going to do if and only if as our last operator. All right. So if and only if is our last operator here. And we're going to go ahead and fill in the truth table for this. Now, one thing that's important about if and only if is that if and only if is a double arrow. Hi, Rohan. How are you? If and only if is our double arrow here. And the reason why it's double arrow is because it's just like if then. Instead of just going from left to right like the if then arrow has, it also goes from right to left. So you have to satisfy kind of both ways. But in a sense, all we need to do is kind of use the truth table from the one before, all right, this if then table, in order to get the truth table for if and only if. So let's take a look and see what we get here in this particular instance. Okay, so we have true if and only if true. So since it works, from left to right and right to left, the way I'll show off is this. True if and only if true. True if true, then true is true. But if we go backwards from Q to P, if this true, then this true is also true. So if we put them together, true and true, this will be true. Again, it has to work both ways for it to be true, and it certainly does. How about this? True if and only if false. What do you think? False? Yes, that is correct. Good. Right? So we say if true, then false is false. Okay? So false and something else doesn't matter, even if I go backwards. If false, then true is true, but still false and true is false. Okay, so that part is false. Good, nice. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. False if and only if true. So false if and only if true. All right, false is also correct. That's right. Nice job, Eugene. That's correct. So again, we go false. If false, then true is true from the previous table. However, we have to go backwards. So if true, then false, well, from that is false. So we have true and false, which means it's going to be false. All right. Last one here. False if and only if false. So false if and only if false. That's correct. The answer is definitely true. That's right. So again, if false, then false is true. If false, then false is also true. So it's true. All right. Good, good. All right, let's take a good look here at last table. Okay, the last table here, really quick, is for not. This one here is rather quick because it doesn't require too much effort whatsoever, but let's go ahead and do it anyway. Oh, probably I need one more. Let's add one more here. Oh. There we go. All right. So we could have a true and false here. And then in here, we're going to have not P. And so this is going to equal not. All right. And then for not here is pretty straightforward. Again, all this requires is going to be just swapping around the trues and falses. So true becomes false and false becomes true. Okay, so those are the five operators there for logic and the truth tables associated with them, all right, in order to, figure out, kind of what we're working with. All right. Now, what we're going to be doing next here is with these truth tables is we're going to go ahead and evaluate some truth tables here just based on some symbols. So we'll put some symbols here, we'll put it in a nice neat table, and we'll see what we get here at the end of the day. All right. So let's do it. All right. So let's start off with something nice and simple, and we'll work our way up. Okay. So this is our statement here, not P and Q. Okay. And we need to figure out the truth table associated with that. All right. So I'm going to make another table here. All righty. So here's our table. Let's go ahead and make some columns here. So the first two columns we'll make here is, of course, the same ones. You'll notice that we have P and we have Q. So we have those. All right. And we'll just plug in our true, true, false, false, and our alternating false, true, false, true, false. All right, just like so. Okay, now the way we want to attack these problems specifically is we have a particular way we want to approach all these problems and all these particular truth tables. So what's the key is to approach each table one step at a time. Okay, until you reach the end. So one thing that I highly suggest is you say, okay, don't try and do it all at once. Try and go ahead and do it one step at a time, and then you can see what you have as your final truth table. Now, this is a pretty easy example, but I'm going to showcase here exactly how we would want to do that here for each one of these four cases. So, in this particular instance, we have not P. Okay, so notice here we have P and Q, and that's fine. But we have to figure out what not P is. Okay, so that's what we want to do first. We're going to figure out not P, because that's kind of like in the middle of the process. Okay, if we try and do everything all at once in our heads and you have like a bunch of cases, you could have more, like 8. Now then it tends to be pretty hard, and then you will be crying tears of pain. So rather than crying tears of pain, we would rather cry tears of joy after getting it right. So okay. So here, if we have not P, we're going to look at the P column here, and we have true, true, and false and false. So we're going to have, just flip these around. We're going to have false and false, and true and true. Okay, so we have this piece of the puzzle. Now all we have to do is AND that with the Q. Oh, why did I? Oh, I guess I cut that. We're going to AND that with the Q there. Now I'll cut it out. Okay, so now we're going to get our truth table here, because now we got all the pieces here put together. We got the not P, and we have the Q here. So let's take a look. We'll just go in order here, all right? So we have false and true. False and true, what's that? False and true. Don't forget the operator here. So go back to your table that you had from before. Let's go back up. We have and here. We have false and true. So false and true is false. So here we're going to get false here. Okay. Again, be careful about the what you're looking at here. You're looking at the second and third columns here. So you're looking at this column and you're looking at this column. Okay. So be sure to look at the correct columns there when you get your final truth table. How about the next one here? We have false and false. What should we put there? False and false. What's that going to be? False. Okay, that's correct. So again, we're looking at these two, false and false. All right, so that indeed is false. How about this next one here? True and true. True and true is true. Good. And then finally, we have this last one here. We have true and false. So true and false. False. Correct. Okay. And there we go. We've effectively finished our truth table. All right. So false, false, true, false would be our final answer for this problem. Any questions about that? Okay. Let's try another one. Okay. So let's try this one here. Actually. All right. So here's our next example. Not P or P and not Q. All right. Let's go ahead and make another table in here. We'll put it in there. so we're going to start off with our normal stuff. We'll put our P and our Q here in their respective places. Okay, so that shouldn't be too hard to do. And then we'll go ahead and put our true falses here. So put true and true. True and true and false and false. And then true, false, true, false. Okay. Now, what do you think if we take a look at this particular one here? All right, this is what we want to find here at the end. All right. What do you think we'll need to enter in here first? What do you think should go in this next column? All right, not P is correct. Very good. Let's try that. So let's go with not P, just taking it one step at a time and setting up our calculations here. So not P just reverses all the trues and falses around. So easily enough, false and false, and the true and the true. There we go. Okay, we're going to come back to that a little later, of course, but at least we have a start with that. Okay, how about the next one there? What's our next column? What's our next column here? Not Q. Okay, good. I agree. Let's put not Q. All right, so not Q is going to flip everything around, so we get false and true and false and true. Okay, what should be this next column here? Again, we're just putting together one step at a time. What's our next column here then? What should be our next step? All right, good. That's right. So we should do the parentheses here next. So we get P and Q here. Now you're absolutely right. P and not Q is correct. So we're gonna take a look at this here specifically, and we'll find out its truth table. So let's go through this carefully here. We have P and not Q, so we're looking at the first column and this previous column here, the fourth one. So we have true and false. True and false. What's that? true and false. Careful there, Eugene. And, not or. Yeah, so this is going to be false. Remember, the mountain is going to be the and. The V will be the or. Next, we have true or true and true. So we have true and true. What's that? True and true, true. Okay, good. All right, let's look at the next one here. False and false. False and false is false. Okay, good. All right, last one here. False and true. So false and true. False and true. False and true, Sam. False and true. So, yes, it'll be false. Take a look back here for a second, back to our and. Again, false and true is false. For and, the only way it can be true for and is if both things are true. Otherwise, it's false. For or, the only way it could be false is if they're both false. Otherwise, everything is true. Okay. Okay, that's fine. All right. Next, not P or, again, the whole statement here. So we're going to look at two columns here. We have or here in the middle now. So the thing we're going to look at here specifically is or, because we have this guy and we have this guy. So we're going to use the third column and or it with the fifth column here. So let's see what we get. So we have not P or this. So false or false. What's that going to be? False or false? False or false is false. That's correct. Let's look at the next one. False or true? False or true? False or true? What do we get? False or true is false. False or true. Okay, so when I actually say it out loud, I say false or true. Okay. Yeah, so this is actually going to be true. Okay, so one of the things that's going to be important is to memorize these truth tables for sure. Okay, so memorizing these truth tables will make it significantly easier. So here again we have false or true, and we said that's true. Okay. Let's look at this next one here. True or false? True or false? Put that in the chat. That is true. That's correct. And then the last one here is true or false. And so, again, it's the same thing. So that's also going to be true as well. All right. All right. Okay. Any questions about that truth table there? How are you guys feeling? Has your brain melted yet? I don't know. I have to ask. Still a little bit confusing? That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So this is so this is one of those things that does take time to kind of get to know. And I think it'd be a good idea if we I know it's still a little confusing here. So, here's what I'd like you to do. If it's still confusing for you guys, that's fine. Um, that is not a problem. I want you to focus on the basic truth tables here. Okay, so there are more examples in here for us to do. Now, we could do a 3-variable example, but I think that'll make it harder than it needs to be. So what I would like you to do specifically is, so that way your brain doesn't melt if I do another example, uh, unless you want me to, then I'm going to stop here in the middle of 3.3. I want you to work on the problems on the my math lab, so you get more comfortable with like knowing what if it's true or false based on the tables. Okay, you won't be able to do maybe all of 3.3, but you should be able to do part of it at least to get more comfortable with the truth tables. And then what we'll do next week is that we'll start here at this part in section 3.3. We'll do a tougher example, but hopefully you're less confused about the truth tables there once you go ahead and give them a try yourself. How does that sound, or what would you like to do? Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely want you to. Absolutely, yes. I would like you to use these notes here for the assignment, absolutely 100%. I want you to start getting to memorize this because, as we'll see here in this section, if I did 3 variables, that's 8 cases. And if you do 8 cases, it took us a while to kind of get through these 4 cases here. And we do 8 cases, that's going to take us even longer unless we're getting a little more comfortable with the actual truth tables themselves for every operator. Because the rest of them, we're going to explore new truth tables in the next section. All right. We're going to explore, actually, we're not going to explore new truth tables in the next section. We're going to use the if then and if and only if in the next section. So we want to get used to kind of all of these. That's why I'm presenting it now. It's kind of like a meld between 3.3 and 3.4, but I want you to get used to it now where you've memorized the rules, because in the after that, we're going to be, again, setting up more truth tables, and we're going to need to find the truth tables a little bit more quickly. So, yeah, that's why I'm kind of leaning toward that. So if you guys say that sounds good, use the notes here. You could try a little bit of 3.4 as well, by the way, because that has stuff to do with if and only if and if then. I know we didn't do any examples in regards to that in this section, but we will for next time. But again, just memorize those rules. That's really important there. Yeah, I kind of felt after I did that second example, I kind of felt after I did. That's okay. No, no, no. That's exactly right. So I'm going to leave this up here. Obviously, you guys can come back to Twitch here, okay, and look at the replay so you can reference back. You can write them down as notes, and then you can reference back to them when you're trying the homework there and start to memorize them little by little. So I put kind of the basic template there, but I noticed when I did the first example here, you know, it's kind of a slow roll. And so I was like, okay. Then when you did the second example, I noticed that it was even slower. And I'm like, okay, well, that has less to do with the lag than more has to do with, you know, just kind of getting comfortable with the idea. So if I showed a third example, then you still don't have any basis to go off of. So I'm like, well, I'll stop here and then give you guys a little time to digest the material, and rather to melt your brain for another example. So just making adjustments there. Okay. All right. Good stuff. All right. So if you guys are okay with that, we're going to end off here for today. Okay. But we're going to come back next week. Okay. So next Monday. And hopefully you try that homework out and then see if you get more comfortable with the truth table stuff, and then we'll resume doing more examples here from 3.3 and additionally 3.4, of course, with the if, then, and if and only if statements. If we're Gucci with that, I'm Gucci with that. All right, great. All right, everyone, have yourself a very wonderful weekend. Okay, please enjoy yourselves as best as possible, and I will see you all back here on Monday. All right, Monday, same time, same place, the same channel. All right, have yourself a great one. Again, watch the replay on Twitch here. There's going to be two parts, obviously, due to the lag in the middle. Yeah, just go ahead and rewatch those and see, just kind of hopefully pick up on that. Try section 3233 today and a little bit of 34. We should be good to go. All right, take care, everybody, and we'll see you next week. All right, take care. All right.